who is an entrepreneur and has over 10 years of experience in online marketing. So let's welcome Yasir. Hi, Yasir.
Hi Zoha, it's great
How are
to
you
be.
doing?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I have been an entrepreneur since 2008, and I'm also an investor. I'm based out of Mississauga, which is right next to Toronto, and I mean, it's been 12 years since I started my first business, which was called Quantum SEO, and I just really like what I do. It's different. It's a little challenging, but it's also rewarding. So I really like it.
And how did you get started with entrepreneurship? So tell us a bit about your journey.
Right. Okay. So this is an interesting story. I moved from Pakistan to Canada in
Mhm.
2006 with my family, and when we came to Canada, it was pretty much like starting over. And I was in university at that time. I was in York University. I was, I think, 21 years old. So when we came to Canada, I wanted to look for a job just so I could get some extra money and I could support my family. But because I didn't have any Canadian experience, uh, I sent out, I think, 50 resumes, but I didn't get hired. Long story short, after 2 months of sending out resumes, a pizzeria in York University hired me, and then they let me go in 2 days for one reason or another. And I was really shocked when that happened. But that was pretty much the best thing that has ever happened to me because from that point onwards, I decided I will start my own thing and I will not be doing a job anymore. Right. So that's how I got started with entrepreneurship. That's when I um, tried to start. I tried my hand at 21 or 22 different ideas, and then one of them worked, and that was Quantum SEO. So that's how I got started with it. It was a lot of trial and error, at least in the beginning, but it has been very rewarding ever since.
That sounds interesting because, like today, obviously SEO and any business in SEO is quite rewarding. So a lot of startups and businesses are looking towards obviously investing in that and learning more about it.
Yes.
So, what advice would you give to people who would want to join the same line as yours?
The same line as mine. Okay, we're talking about SEO strictly, online
Yes,
marketing.
yes.
Well, the first thing to consider is that we are in the information age, which means that SEO and digital marketing is on the rise. It was more so the case in 2010 and 2011, but even in 2020, it's gonna keep getting more and more popular because a lot of businesses are coming online. Um, Google and other search engines, mostly Google, it is a lot more sophisticated. So anyone who wants to enter into this field will probably have to educate themselves a lot more if they had compared to if they had started in 2010, right? So apart from education, I mean, it's a lucrative field, but it's also competitive. And I see everything boils down to pretty much the same thing. It's a lot of hard work and consistency, but it is definitely worth the effort if someone is willing to put that in.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And obviously, since you're an entrepreneur, so what are some of the myths and realities about entrepreneurship?
Okay, right.
Like,
Well, and this is just my opinion, but a lot of people start with entrepreneurship without really planning through the entire phase, if you want to call it that. Um, Normally, when you start a business, it's pretty challenging, right? I mean, you can look at the statistics. After 10 years, most of the businesses, which pretty much anyone starts, they go away, but 2 or 3% which remain really thrive, and those are the businesses that keep making millions. So the myth is, I mean, people think that entrepreneurship is easy. It's not exactly easy, but then again, nothing worthwhile is ever easy. The good thing is when you have your own business, for the most part, generally speaking, you have your own hours. Um, you don't have a boss because you are your own boss, and you can manage your time pretty effectively, right? But the con of that is that it takes a lot of hard work, especially in the first 2 to 3 years, I would say.
So basically, you would say that one of the cons of entrepreneurship is sometimes it could be that you don't plan enough.
Yes, so yeah, I personally think most people don't really plan enough when they start a business. One of the issues I keep seeing pretty much every time is that whenever someone starts a business, whenever they become an entrepreneur, they try to do something very similar to their competitor, because their reasoning is, well, if this person is doing it and it's working, then I can get a piece of that pie as well. But it doesn't work that way. If you have a new company and if you want it to succeed, then a huge part is figuring out how to be different and more valuable than your competitors. If you're able to figure that part out, then the rest is easy. uh, and if a customer of yours cannot tell what the difference is between your business and your competitor's business, then it's kind of a problem, right? So I think,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So obviously, like especially this question is quite related to the situation that we all of us, the whole world is in today. So how can someone start generating income from home?
Okay, so um there are a lot of ways to do this. S- I mean, when I started with a website called rentacoder.com. And it's basically a freelancing website. You bid on projects, and if your bid is good enough, then you get the project. So in 2010, I think there were two or three of these kinds of websites available, right? So there not a lot of people were coming online, but in 2020 there are so many sites similar to this. My personal website is rentacoder.com, but they have rebranded themselves and they're now freelancer.com, right? I also like doing business on peopleperhour.com. So what I'm trying to say is that pretty much anyone can freelance from home without even physically meeting the employer. And uh, in this way, the entire world is coming online, right? As long as you have a skill, or even if you don't have a skill right now, you can learn a skill. It could be anything. It could be copywriting if you're good at writing copy, sales letters. If you're good at marketing, you can run PPC campaigns. You can run ads on Facebook, on Google AdWords. I mean, there are so many different things. I started with SEO. SEO is just a fancy way of saying get your website ranked at the top of Google, so that you can get more traffic, more people to your website, and so you can make more sales. So I started with SEO, but I mean, there are so many different skill sets that you can find and utilize on these websites.
Hmm. So speaking of SEO, we have a question. So Arsalan's asking, first of all, thank you for this wonderful session. If you could kindly highlight what is the most distinguished thing in any upcoming SEO practitioner must do, given thousands of freelancers diving into the space.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Thousands of freelancers are diving into this space, Ursulan. For me personally, it it comes down to two things. The first thing is, the trust with your clients, because when I started, SEO wasn't that competitive. Okay. For the most part, people who were with me, my clients who were with me in 2010, many of them are still here with me in 2020. So trust plays a huge role, because once again, yes, thousands of people are going into SEO. Secondly, we need to, there's a saying that you need to spend or invest rather 10,000 hours to learn to master a specific skill set. And it's pretty much the same with SEO, right? So if someone is willing to do that without me making it sound too difficult, then they're good to go, because the entry there are no entry barriers. to SEO. Anyone with a laptop and an internet can join SEO. They can start providing SEO as a service. uh, the problem is that the vast majority of people entering will leave after 2 or 3 months because they just won't know enough. So that's where education really comes into play. And you can easily go onto YouTube and 100 different websites to learn SEO and online marketing for free, pretty much. I hope that answers the question.
So before this, we had another question sent in for just specifically for Quantum SEO Labs.
Okay.
So the question states that at Quantum SEO Labs, you guarantee to get your clients ranked in Google, Yahoo, etc. What's the magic formula?
The magic formula is a lot of hard work, right? That's what the magic formula is. So it's hard work plus consistency plus a considerable amount of trial and error, at least in the beginning. So in other words, I mean, we have to figure out what's going to work for a particular client, because no two clients are the same, right? So it really depends. For example, if we are working with a law firm, the legal niche is very, very, very competitive, especially in big, in places like New York, for example. So in order for that, we have to, if we have a law firm as a client, we have to make sure that we get really powerful websites to vouch for them, right? For their website. And that could include getting them on, websites like Forbes, Huffington Post, Adweek, Harvard, Stanford, right? For other small businesses, that might not be the case. So we might just have to send out a couple of press releases to local and regional websites to get the job done. And as always with SEO, the aim is to get them ranked at the top of Google for their keywords so that they can get more traffic. So if you're a dentist, for example, in Toronto, you would want to get ranked on page one of Google for the keyword dentist in Toronto, right? So once again, there isn't a secret. The only secret I can think of is a lot of hard work and trial and error, and really getting that sixth sense as to what is going to work for this particular client, because every client is different, right?
Thank you for answering that. So now I kind of want to move from SEO to financial freedom. So you obviously talk a lot about financial freedom on your page as well. So what are the benefits of being financially free?
Oh wow. Okay, so there are a lot of benefits um, of financial freedom. Financial freedom is basically where you don't have to work to support your lifestyle, right? That's a very simple way of putting it. There are, I mean, the benefits are that you don't have to do anything you don't want to once you get there, right? There's a saying that you cannot be truly free unless you're financially free. So, right. So I think that's what it comes down to. Um, to me personally, I like being in control of my life, and I like doing the things that I want without someone having a major control over my life. I hope that makes sense, and that's why I've for the last 5 years I've tried really hard to reach a point where um, I can I mean I can work with clients if I want to, but not because I have to support myself, right? And that can only happen when you have enough investments, which bring in income without you working 9 to 5 for them, right? So yeah, a lot of benefits, but it does take a while to get there, right?
Yeah, because like being financially free, I mean, this is a term that I didn't know before I met you. So obviously, not everyone out there knows that wouldn't probably even know that this is possible.
Right,
Becoming financially free and not just working to get to earn to kind of afford the life you have. So how
right.
can anyone in the world become financially free?
So if okay, 50 years ago, I wouldn't have said that pretty much everyone had a shot, but once again, this is the digital age, it's the information age, so virtually anyone can get to that point. Um, I feel that if you want to be successful, there are only two ways to do it. The first way is to learn a new skill set, And the second way is to get to know new people. So if someone wants to, for example, become financially free, the number one rule they have to follow is they have to find or acquire or buy assets which are going to generate income for them. And that can only happen three ways. The first way, of course, is to start your own business and then get someone else to manage the business so that you don't have to work 12 hours a day. The second way is to invest in real estate, which many people already do. And, for example, to rent a space out and then collect the rent. And the third way is to invest in other companies, which would be, like any company which pays out a dividend, right? And then you get a dividend every month or every quarter or even every year. It depends on the company, but it all comes down to to improving your skill set, because once you do that, you can look at something and really figure out pretty quickly if it's a good investment, right? And I personally think that Rich Dad books, Robert Kiyosaki's books, are really really helpful because he has 14 books, and I've gone through them. I've reviewed them at least 3 times, every single book, and I've made notes. And every single time I read the books, I find something new. So that is the simplest way to reach financial freedom. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to put a question up here. It's from Ana Shamsi. Hi, Yasser, great session. I wanted to ask, when you say financial freedom, what role does passive income play into it?
Okay. Thanks for the question, Anna. Um, well, financial freedom is all about passive income. Right? So, uh, passive income is any income that you do not actively work for, right? In school, I mean, when we go to school, we have been taught to exchange our time for money. And that is in some countries it's called active income because you're actively doing something to earn income. Um, Passive income is not taught in the educational system for one reason or another, but it all comes down to getting your investments to work for you, right? If you can get money to work for you, then you don't have to work for money. That's what it really comes down to. So it's very very essential that we learn how to generate passive income. And because once we are there, we should be good to go. As an example, if it takes $2,000 to support my lifestyle every month, all I need to do is figure out how can I generate $2,000 per month in passive income, and then I am financially free. Okay, a lot of people seem to think that we need to make millions of dollars to get there. That's not the case at all, right? It all comes down to making sure your expenses are lower than your passive income every month.
Okay, so interesting because we had a question related to this, which was sent in our registration form. So someone's asking that not coming from a wealthy background, how does one become a successful investor?
Okay, well, when I started, I didn't have a lot of money. So I was pretty much in the same situation. Well, okay, the first rule of investing is that if just like others buy normal things at a discount, I try to buy assets at a discount. So for example, if you are sure that a company is worth, for example, $10, but you can buy a part of that company for $4 or $5, then of course it's a good investment, right? Because it's going to go up in value. You can sell it later for a profit. So that's pretty much the fundamental idea behind investing, right? You buy something which is undervalued that other people want, and then, I mean, I'm not going to say you have to sell it later, but you can live off the dividends or income from that stream. And that's how it usually works. But apart from that, investing is just like any other skill, right? Most people who are millionaires or multimillionaires or even billionaires, they started from zero. And that's essentially what it comes down to. If you are willing to learn a new skill set, and once again, investing is a skill set, then you're good to go. It might take a couple of years, but that's essentially what it comes down to. And I think Robert Kiyosaki's books are very, very good in that regard. But then again, there are so many other books as well that you can go to. in order to figure out.
Okay, interesting. So, um, another question for you is, what is the best way to promote your brand service?
Just to clarify, does that mean um, how I promote my companies? Or okay, so we're talking about how I promote my companies, right? Well,
I'm yeah, I'm guessing that this is what it means because yeah, your brand services. Yeah.
okay, right. Well, most SEO companies, what they do is most online marketing companies, and I'm generalizing here, they come across as very similar to each other. What I try to do, which is different, is that I try to tell a story. And I try to not sound too technical. So, for example, in the Facebook ads that I run for my company, uh, I try to give my prospective clients an idea as to what they will receive if they sign up with us. Most people don't even know that they need SEO services or they need online marketing services, right? So my brand is all about being personable and approachable and not really technical because most people don't know a lot about online marketing, especially new clients signing up. So stories are very, very powerful. And if I can give a person an idea that makes them think, okay, yeah, well, if I try this person, then my business will increase. There's a good chance it'll increase. That normally takes care of revenue, generally speaking. So in that case, in that regard, our branding is a little different. It's more personable.
Hmm. So we have a question for you. Um, Asif Khan is asking, would it be risky to invest in stocks in 2020?
Great question. So it depends on how you look at it. Okay, personally, I like it when markets go down. Okay, for a lot of people, it's very, very scary if a stock which is trading at $50 it goes down to 10. Right? It's pretty daunting. But the first thing to understand is that like I personally invest in dividend stocks, so it does not really matter if the stock market goes down, if the stock market crashes, because if you're investing in a good company which pays a steady dividend, then your stock can go down in value. All you have to do is keep holding it, and you'll still get the dividends. Um, but me personally, when the stock market goes down, like it did 2 months ago, it in Toronto, the Toronto Stock Exchange went down by I think 35%, if I'm not mistaken. That is the time to buy. Many people would panic and they would sell at this price, but that's actually the time to buy. And it's the same with every single asset class out there. Many investors, who are really, really successful now, real estate investors, they bought when real estate went down by 50%, especially in America in 2008. So once again, nothing is if it I mean, if something is risky, it does not mean that it has risk for you. I hope I am making sense over here, because if you buy at a low price and you hold it and the dividends are coming in, then it doesn't really matter what the stock price is doing, at least in the short term, right?
So, does that mean that this is the right time to buy blue chip company shares?
um yes, but my preference would be to buy companies which pay out a steady dividend, right? So 2 days ago, I invested in Canadian Utilities, which has been paying us an increasing dividend. And dividend is just a fancy word for saying, well, it's going to pay out its profits to shareholders who are the owners of the company. So I um, I own Canadian Utilities. They've been paying out dividends for 50 years. Their share price went down by 30%, but it doesn't matter, right? Because if you keep holding on to the shares, you will get dividends. I feel that most people do is they invest in companies which do not provide dividends, and that's why when the stock price goes down, then it's kind of a dilemma. I mean, should I sell the stock for and take a loss, or keep holding on to it with nothing to show for it, right? So dividend investing.
So another question for you is, have you ever invested in a startup?
Um, I have, well, if by startup you mean investing in my own businesses, then yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, I haven't, because normally what I do is either I start my own companies or I invest in established companies paying out dividends. So in the technical sense, in the strictest sense, I haven't invested in a startup. Yeah,
Okay, so I think like now is the a good time to ask you about wealth kept. Obviously, as
yeah,
I can see it written behind you as well, and I feel like it's something that obviously startups can learn from as well. So do you want
yeah.
to tell us a bit about wealth kept?
Sure. So basically, I am a huge proponent of financial education because I feel that without financial education, it's very difficult to become financially free, right? So with Wealth Cap, what we do is we make a normally mundane and dry subject more interesting. Uh, because personal finance is a bit dry, right? But it's very, very simple to understand, and I try my best to use stories and very simple guidelines to help people understand what they need to do in order to get to retire in their 30s or maybe 40s. Well, it depends on how old someone is, but to retire really, really early. And that's the entire goal. And when someone signs up, for example, for WealthCap, um, I send out 7 or 8 free emails just to get them up to speed as to what they need to do in order to get from point A to B. And point B is, of course, financial freedom. Yeah, so this is a company that I started in 2015, and I'm still working on adding content to it. And by next year, it should be working pretty well.
So other than the book you mentioned, Rich Dads, which are two other books that you would recommend to read in order to so that people can learn more about financial freedom?
Um, okay. Well, I would suggest the first book would be Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the first book in the Rich Dad series. Apart from that, I mean, this entire brand is something that I really, really like. So it all comes down to Rich Dad Poor Dad and the other book. But
Mhm.
there are many other ones that I can send to you. Some of them are by Napoleon Hill. One is Think and Grow Rich. I read it once or twice. It's a great book. It's great for mindset, for developing the right mindset, but it's not technical. And I think that's what people would like about it. But I feel that Robert Kiyosaki's books are directly related to our goal. That's why I
Financial freedom.
really, really, yeah, I think they're really, really helpful.
Okay, so now since we're kind of approaching to the end of our session, what I really want to ask you is like, obviously we know what's going on in the world right now. So how do
Yes.
you motivate yourself during these tough times?
How do you motivate yourself during these tough times, right?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing to understand is that tough times they just don't last forever, right? Yes, the last 2 months were pretty severe. But personally, I try to find out y- a good thing in a bad situation, right? A part of being an entrepreneur is to learn from a setback and figure out how to turn it to your advantage, right? Um, as we speak, countries and marketplaces and sectors are opening up because countries, no one can afford to sit at home, and if the economy is not running, then it's a huge problem. So what I'm trying to say is that overall, in the next coming couple of months, so we should see an increase in activity, but it all comes down to utilizing your time and doing the best you can with your time. If, for example, the last 2 months, uh, I have read more and more books as to figure out what to do when the economy comes back, right? So books are free, or they cost $20, and online blogs and YouTube videos are pretty much free. Once we have the right mindset and once we have the right education, we can capitalize on opportunities, especially in bad times, right? Especially in bad times. And once again, as an example, uh, I invested in stocks when the market went down 50% or 40%, was it? I think. And that's what helped me out. But education is very, very important. And once you can capitalize on opportunities, you should be good to go.
Great. So, what's the best advice that you've received and you would want to share with everyone who's listening to you right now?
The
Just
best
as some
advice.
signing off treat for everyone.
Oh, sure. So the best, we're talking about entrepreneurship, right? Strictly, or about financial freedom?
Well, if you have separate advices for both, I mean, go for it.
Well, the irony is the advice is pretty similar for both. In anything that you do, anything at all, if you want to be successful, it comes down to two things. The first is consistency. If you're willing to do the same thing day after day, and if you're able to build consistently on it, then you will be ahead of most people. And secondly, it is all about learning new skills, right? Most people think that they have to go to a school in order to get educated and in order to learn a new skill. I can guarantee that all the skills that you want to learn are online. You don't even have to enroll anywhere. Most of the content is free. You just have to go to YouTube and a ton of other websites. So if you're willing to do these two things, um, in 5 years you will be way ahead in the game, right? And the good thing is financial freedom doesn't have to take 10 or 20 years. Depending on the effort that you put in, it could take as little as 3 years, but of course it takes effort.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like we should have a separate session on the education system overall, worldwide.
Oh, definitely. I would
Yeah.
like to talk about that.
Yeah, but thank you so much for joining us today. You've shared some amazing insight, and I'm sure everyone's going to go and sign up on Wealth Kept now to learn how to become financially free.
That's great. Thank you
But
so much for being here.
yes, thank you so much, and definitely, like we would love to have you again. We've had a lot of questions, but obviously, since we're short of time,
Yeah,
so definitely next time.
definitely. It was great talking here.
Great, thank you so much. See you next
Thanks.
time.
Take care.
Okay, guys, so that was Yasir Khan today for AMA. Catch Summer Hassan live at 11 p.m. with Omer Jaliawala. And looking forward to the next AMA session, which would be next week. Allah Hafiz.